From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes, brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Twin Cities sports scene. Well, Wally, another episode of 10K Takes television, and the Purple have started playing games. Counterfeit football. Game number one was Sunday in Las Vegas, and they go down by 26-20 to the Raiders. But if you believe the people who drink the purple Kool-Aid, there were some good signs in that game.
Yeah, your favorite time of year, clearly.
Yeah.
Watching, as you said, counterfeit football. I guess the number one good sign would be the emergence of Kellen Mond. I think that one snap that he took in Green Bay last year, I think that kind of pushed him ahead. He's got all the confidence in the world.
He's really like a redshirt freshman.
Yeah.
This is really his rookie year. But he did put some good stuff on tape. And boy, the Kellen Mond to Albert Wilson connection. It's like Joe Montana and Jerry Rice.
Fantasy football people, get
Two
ready.
Touchdown hookups. But he did look good, and that's what the Vikings need. They have a problem when it comes to backup quarterback. It's well documented. They need somebody to step up, and they want it to be Kellen Mond because they've invested in this guy. I mean, he was a third-round pick out of Texas A&M.
High draft pick. You really don't have – I mean, Sean Mannion can Mannion the ship, and that's about it. I mean, we saw it in Green Bay last year in a game where they could have still kept their playoff hopes alive. He's not mobile at all. He'll run your offense. He is what he is, to use an overused phrase. But they have a guy in Kellen Mond who has the athleticism, the escapability. Does he have the ability to run a club? And that's what I think you saw a little bit of anyway on Sunday that you didn't get a chance to see much of last year. Mike Zimmer said he saw him in practice, so he knew what he had there. But I think it's unfair to categorize him after a rookie year where he basically didn't play at all.
He's an unknown commodity.
Right.
Every snap he can get in a preseason / counterfeit football game will benefit Kellen Mond because then he can show the coaches what he can do. And you're right, he's mobile. And that's what you want in a quarterback today. Look, Kirk Cousins didn't make the trip. He's in COVID protocol. Derek Carr didn't play for Las Vegas. But it's a chance for these backups. I mean, we joke about these exhibition games. They're hard to watch. But if you're a backup trying to make the team, or maybe if you get cut, you want to get picked up by somebody else,
right.
This is your Super Bowl. For Kellen Mond, this was huge. And I like his number, 11. Joe Cap's old number, right? You want to go way back in time. Right. And another guy who showed some promise, this rookie running back, Ty Chandler out of North Carolina.
5th-round draft pick.
Yep, 50 yards on the ground and a 56-yard kickoff return. And think about it. In today's NFL, they have tried to eliminate kickoff returns.
Sadly.
Yeah, sadly. Well, that's Roger Goodell, the dictator.
Yeah. And Kenny Nwangu had a nice game as well. So I think that they're trying to establish that they can run the football even if it's not Dalvin Cook or Alexander Madison. Madison got a few carries. I think he had 3 carries in the game. They're trying to find another guy, and I think it would help, and Chandler proved it, if you can run back kicks. Now, Nwangu did that last year as well. So they've got some pieces to work with there. I think that they kind of knew what they had anyway. But the whole point of preseason right now is to not get anybody hurt. I mean, find out what you have in the second and third stringers and don't get anybody hurt.
You want to create depth. You want to give some guys who haven't had chances a look. And then what they're going to do this week is San Francisco, and the 49ers beat Green Bay the other night out at Levi's. The 49ers will come in here in a couple of days and practice with the Vikings like Denver did last season. And then they will play Saturday at US Bank Stadium. So Trey Lance comes back to Minnesota. And really, this is huge. How many quarterbacks have been taken in round one that were born on Minnesota soil? I can't think of any.
Well, no, wait a minute now.
Born on Minnesota soil, first-round pick, quarterback?
Steve Walsh.
Okay, that would be another.
Who's the other Cretan guy?
Joe Mauer? He played baseball.
No, not Joe Mauer.
Well, the answer would be not a lot.
All right.
Steve Walsh, okay. I'll give you that one.
And there's another Cretan guy. I'm just not thinking of it right now. You'll come up with it.
All right.
You'll come up with it later. And then you'll say, oh, yeah. Get one of our producers on it. Tell Rocky to go dig that out.
All right.
But your point is the same, though, that there aren't many, if any, beyond those two. The one I'm not thinking of, and Steve Walsh.
The unknown Cretan-Durham Hall Raider.
Get your phone out.
Yeah. Well, okay. And so Trey Lance, they've given him the keys to the Porsche in San Francisco. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo is one of the more disrespected, successful quarterbacks, in my opinion, in the NFL. I mean, he's been to a Super Bowl. They went to the NFC Championship game a year ago. But Lance is their guy. And I think to Garoppolo's credit, he's been a great teammate with Trey. He's tried to help him out, which is hard because Trey's taking his job.
Is there anything you saw in Sunday's Viking game that gives you A, pause, or B, has excited you about the squad? Kellen Mond, that's a good first step, I guess.
Well, I'd say this. They lost the game.
Okay.
If you care about that. Now, Mike Zimmer was very good about winning these exhibition games.
Yes,
he rarely lost. But that really doesn't matter, to be honest. Greg Joseph had a couple of field goals. Now, Daniel Carlson had 2 for Las Vegas. That's more salt in the wound.
Yeah, it
for
is.
letting him go. Remember, he was with Minnesota.
Yeah, your guy Zim was not happy with his performance in Green Bay. Not many people were, but then he got him the next week.
I would just say that, I think they came out of it relatively unscathed. As you said, they don't want to have any injuries. For Kevin O'Connell, the head coach, his first shot, with real-life bullets flying. And so he can learn from it. And we'll see what they do against San Francisco. Look, you only have 2 more of these preseason games left, and then it's week 1 of the NFL regular season.
Yeah. Preseason used to be 6 games long.
Oh, boy.
Then they went down to 4, 5 if you played in the game in Canton. Now they're down to 3, 4 if you play in the game in Canton. So, and the Raiders did. The Raiders are one of those 2 teams that's going to get 4 this year.
The Raiders are 2-0.
They're 2-0, baby.
Yeah, and
Al Davis is smiling somewhere.
Yeah, well, they have that torch in the end zone at Allegiant Stadium, the Al torch that burns like the one for JFK at the Arlington Cemetery outside of D.C. in Virginia. Well, that's what they think of Al. He's Mr. Raider.
But in Las Vegas,
I know it doesn't quite mesh.
No,
but,
it's not the same, man.
It's run by Mark Davis's kid.
Oh, all right, we can give him that much.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna take a break. I guess we got another former Viking to talk some purple with us. Huh?
Yes, Stu Voigt will join us here shortly. Coming up. We are 10K Takes, your purple ticket.
Imagine a public golf course where beginners feel comfortable in learning and where experienced players can test their skills. Well, you don't have to imagine it. You can live it at the Royal Golf Club at Lake Elmo, an 18-hole championship caliber course designed by golfing legends Arnold Palmer and Annika Sorenstam. With 5 tee boxes, bent grass fairways, and generous landing areas, the Royal Golf Club is perfect for golfers of all experience levels. Golfing and Arnie's Restaurant are open to the public, so make your tee times today at RoyalClubMN.com. The Royal Golf Club, a one-of-a-kind golfing experience.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision. It's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
$10,000 Takes rolls along. I'm going to talk some more football, but before we get to it, it was Chris Winkie was the former Cretan-Durham Hall quarterback I was trying to think of. And let's not forget, now he was a 4th-round choice, played most of his career with the Panthers, but he also won the Heisman back in 2000 and went and played baseball for 6 years.
So to set the record straight, Chris Winkie, Steve Walsh, and now Trey Lance, probably the most decorated, highly chosen quarterbacks born in Minnesota to go on to the NFL.
Yeah. All right, a guy that was brought up in Wisconsin, and we don't hold that against him because he played for the Purple for 11 seasons. Stu Voigt, the former Vikings tight end from 1970 to 1980. Of course, longtime Vikings radio broadcaster joining us now. And Stu, I know you love to be plugged in when the Vikings are on the field. They were on the field on Sunday. What were your impressions day one of the Kevin O'Connell era?
Well, I think typical opening preseason game for the Vikings. They didn't show much. A lot of backups, a lot of guys trying to battle for a roster spot, and that's good. I think Mon, the quarterback, stood out. He looks like a guy that may move up in the depth chart. You've got Mannion as a veteran backup, but I think the future would tell you that Mond is going to be a guy that's going to be a suitable backup, has some nice poise in the pocket, still needs a lot of work. I'm sure he'll get that during the preseason, but that's what stood out. Also, what stood out is it's amazing nowadays that they're not going to risk the high-priced talent for the first game or two, and then that leads you to believe whether they're going to get enough work during the preseason. I've been out to some practices, and not like the old days. There's not a lot of scrimmaging. There's not a lot of hitting. They've got those specialized helmets now where they get a helmet on top of a helmet, which is unusual. But all in all, typical opening game.
And Stu, Kellen Mond did look good. 2 touchdown passes, 119 yards in the air. And going back to when you played, it's critical to have a backup you can count on. Fran Tarkenton went down, in came Tommy Kramer or Bob Lee. You won a Mud Bowl game with Bob Lee back in '77. You got to have a backup, don't you?
Well, you got to have somebody who can come in and do the job. Now, that usually lends itself to bringing in an older guy. They have way back when we have Norm Sneeds and Gary Quazos and to back up Tarkenton, Bob Lee, of course, then Tommy Kramer, who would become heir apparent after Tarkenton retired. But usually nowadays they want a guy that's been there, can come in, take over for a series, take over for a game, maybe a couple games. That's why a lot of these young quarterbacks have to wait their turn at the number 3 position. But I think a talent like Mond probably requires that he be ready to play, and they're going to use him more than I think they will Mannion.
Well, yeah, and I think that you're right, Stu. It seems like they have got to get him game ready in case Kirk Cousins goes down. Because we saw last year, and they still had a shot at the playoffs when they went to Green Bay and they lost the football game with Sean Mannion, a quarterback, and Mannion had a really tough time moving the team up and down the field in that Green Bay game. I think that they really would like Mond to step forward. Would you agree with that?
Well, there's no question, and how practices have changed from the old days. Now, because of they call them reps, but the backup quarterback gets limited reps. So for Mond, and I guess Mannion too, they can get some reps during the preseason, and that'll determine who's number 2 and who's number 3. But during the season, it's going to be all Kirk Cousins getting most of the reps.
Stu, it is a condensed preseason, just 3 games now for most NFL teams. So the 49ers are coming to Eagan later in the week for these joint practices, San Francisco and Minnesota. They'll play a game on Saturday in Minneapolis. How valuable is that to be able to practice against somebody wearing another colored jersey and helmet?
Well, I think it's invaluable for the Vikings, especially a team coming under new organization and new coaches, to get that scheme in there. And no question about it, San Francisco is a good team to practice against. They're a playoff type team, and they of course have got some very good players. And I think realistically, the 2 days of practicing is more important than the game. The game, when they're going full speed and it can't be controlled, then you risk injury to the frontline players. Although they'll play a little bit, it remains to be seen how much they'll play. But the practice sessions will really be interesting, and I, for one, look forward to those practices. I'll be out there, and I think that'll tell you a lot more than the game will on Saturday.
Everybody loves to talk about the offense and what we got out of Kellen Mond, and the fact that Ty Chandler, the 5th-round draft choice, came in and played well for the Vikings on Sunday. But are there concerns on defense? Let's face it, defense has been a real problem the last couple of seasons for the Minnesota Vikings. You could probably point to that and say that's the reason that they weren't a playoff team this past year. Did you see anything on defense that is still concerning to you? And obviously the switch to a 3-4, that's got to be something that they have to get down very soon as well.
Well, I think you're exactly right there. And I think the interesting part will be you're going from a 4-3 with Anthony Barr in and out of the lineup, a good player who moved on. 3-4 is a little different. I saw an interview with they had Hunter and the new guy from Green Bay and the other edge rusher. These guys have been hurt for a couple of years now. They're not the same guys, or maybe they are. We haven't seen a lot of them or enough of them, whether they can last up through the season. On paper, off their best year statistically, man, you got a couple of guys that can really make a difference. Now, are they the same guys that we saw producing a year or two or three ago? I'm not sure. The defense will be a question mark. I think offensively, no question, this guy knows offensive football, and if they have anything like the Rams' offensive strategy, that's going to be pretty exciting to watch. Defensively, whether they can stop the likes of a Green Bay rolling in here for the opener, that's a $64 question.
Yeah.
Yeah, and certainly the other phase is special teams. In the Mike Zimmer era, there were some downtimes that cost Minnesota football games, and now you have, it looks like Greg Joseph is a solid kicker. He had a couple field goals against Vegas, and then you got Kenny Nwango in the return game, and this rookie Ty Chandler not only ran for 50 yards, but he had a 56-yard kickoff return as well. So that's huge, isn't it, Stu?
Well, no question. That's still the forgotten part of the game. I don't know if it's a third offense, third defense, third special teams, but you've got to have those guys that make your roster, and the rosters are expanded. But you've got to have some guys that contribute on special teams. The kicking game, of course, the kickers, that's very important. But those guys that make the tackles or make the blocks on these special teams, those are backup players that they've got to assume their role. Everybody wants to be a every down player on offense or defense, but still the same scenario holds. You make the team and stay on the team by playing well in the special teams. And if you have poor special teams, maybe it won't show up every game, but a couple games a year, that'll be the difference of how they performed and how they handled all the special teams, whether it be the punting, the kicking, the coverage. It's all these games are tight. These spreads are going to be tight this year. We're not an overpowering team, so we need to take advantage of every angle we can in special teams. I'm not even sure who the special teams coach is, but his job will be to get them to be upper echelon as far as the kicking games.
Stu is a guy who has either played in or seen just about every Minnesota Vikings game over the last 50 years, and I didn't mean to date you there, but it is what it is. What are you most concerned about regarding this year's team, and what are you most excited about this year's team?
Well, what I'm concerned about most, I think, is how we can keep these guys healthy. You see now they're wearing those double helmets and, the real emphasis on keeping guys healthy. But that's important because we have some older players, not long in the tooth necessarily, still have some productive years, but they're more susceptible to injuries. So if you told me who's going to get hurt and who's going to stay healthy, that would be a big concern. I think the talent's there. I think the coaching staff seems to be refreshing. They're ready to play. They bring in a good philosophy. I mean, it's a little more touchy-feely maybe than the Zimmer era, which may or may not be good, but along with a soft schedule, this is the nicest schedule the Vikings have had in years. My gosh, when you're playing the Jets and the Giants and the Dolphins, you've got a chance to run up some victories. And, of course, I'm not sure the Bears and the Lions have improved that much over the last offseason. I think you're looking at 10-7, 11-6, which for Viking fans, I think that would be something to be proud of. You're still probably a notch below the Packers, but we'll find out very shortly with that opening game against Green Bay. If they can play well or maybe even get a win at home, then you're off rolling. And momentum's still a big part of being successful in the NFL. Even now, that you get off to a good start, that can propel you into a very, very good season, which, that's what Viking fans want. They were disappointed last year, and thus the changes, and we'll see if the changes really are as substantial as we think they are.
Yeah. Just get into that postseason. Well, Stu, appreciate you spending some time with us. I'm sure we will talk to you again as this season rolls around.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thanks for calling.
Thanks, Stu.
All right. Here's Stu Voigt, former Minnesota Vikings tight end, longtime broadcaster, right with us here on 10,000 Takes. Stay tuned.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earrings. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Imagine a public golf course where beginners feel comfortable in learning and where experienced players can test their skills. Well, you don't have to imagine it. You can live it at the Royal Golf Club in Lake Elmo, an 18-hole championship caliber course designed by golfing legends Arnold Palmer and Annika Sorenstam. With 5 tee boxes, bent grass fairways, and generous landing areas, the Royal Golf Club is perfect for golfers of all experience levels. Golfing and Arnie's Restaurant are open to the public, so make your tee times today at RoyalClubMN.com. The Royal Golf Club, a one-of-a-kind golfing experience.
10,000 takes. All right, enough football, mind you. It still is August, by the way. The Twins are still in a pennant race, although they didn't do themselves any favors over the weekend. Of course, they lost to the Dodgers. They got crushed by the Dodgers earlier in the week, and then they ended up losing 2 out of 3 to the Angels, the Saturday night loss. You know, Rockhead has got to change his thinking, man. Dylan Bundy had gone 65 pitches in 5 innings, and I know that it imploded late in the game, right? Obviously, in the 9th inning, they were a strike away from winning a couple of times. But if you let Bundy go a little longer, you know, say 75 pitches, stretch him. Heaven forbid. I mean, get him. I know it's the 3rd time through the lineup thing. That's exactly what he did. The computer told him, don't let him pitch that 3rd time through the lineup. And
Can we shred that stat? Oh, by the way,
stupid.
Since when did the 3rd time through the lineup become a thing in Major League Baseball? If a pitcher's having success, maybe you want to see those guys again and leave the same guy on the mound.
Thank you.
The sport is too analytics driven. Banalytics is my new.
Yeah.
Let's ban analytics. But that was a dagger defeat, no doubt about it. They could have won that series. They lose on Sunday as well.
Yeah.
And probably the highlight was I see where Carlos Correa's sister, who's a huge Shohei Ohtani fan, he flew her out to Orange County and arranged for Shohei to meet his sister. She was wearing an Ohtani jersey.
oh, my goodness.
And in the game she saw Ohtani and Carlos hit home runs, but she cheers more for Shohei than her own brother.
Oh, that's not good. There's a lot of people still booing her brother.
Yeah, especially at Dodger Stadium.
And at Angel Stadium
Yeah, because
as well.
most Angel fans want to cheer for the Dodgers now, and they remember
there's
what
that.
the Astros did. They cheated to win a World Series.
That's what I hear anyway.
Yankee fans don't like him anymore.
No.
either, so.
Well, he gets booed just about everywhere he goes. He used to get booed even here, but now he's wearing a Twins uniform. Is this guy going to come back next year? He might have to. Carlos Correa is an excellent shortstop defensively. He's having an okay season at the plate. But for $35 million, and I've been saying this for several weeks now, I know a lot of your cohorts in the media have been jumping on this bandwagon. I've been saying it for at least a month now. They need more out of him on offense. They just do.
Well, you expect more based on what he's done in the past. Look, what he does is he brings some locker room credibility. I think guys respect him. He's fabulous in the field, platinum glove winner at shortstop. He's also October tested and proven. All the success the Astros have had, cheating aside, Astros are very good. But can the Twins get to October?
That was my question.
Tap into Carco's postseason experience. We don't know now. They're limping right now, coming back to Minnesota for a 6-game series, 3 with KC, 3 with Texas over at Target Field. They really need to go at a minimum 4-2 on this homestand.
Oh, by the way, they enter the week 2.5 games out of first place behind Cleveland.
And they're tied with the Chicago White Sox now, who still can't quite figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know if the White Sox are going to be much of a threat going down the stretch here, but the pitching staff, again, failing them. Saturday night, as we mentioned, the guys that they picked up, really, Lopez on Saturday night. And then on Sunday, Michael Fulmer came in and gave up a run too, and they ended up losing 4-2 on Sunday. So, again, it's the pitching. Although 4-2 loss tells you something. They got the 2 runs early on the 2-run Buxton home run, and then they got nothing after that.
They're not scoring a lot of runs.
No.
I think the trip to SoCal was no day at the beach.
Yeah.
They did not enjoy that trip to the West Coast.
Bring back Miguel Sano.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe
they need some pop.
Or Michael Sano. Maybe that guy's better. All right. When we come back, takes of the day right here on 10,000 Takes. Your Twins ticket.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Another episode of 10K Takes Television. Wally and Eric with you. And we've hit that fork in the road. Time for takes of the day. Mood meter is plugged in. Are you an angry American, a cranky Yankee? Now, you should be a giddy Guardian. Your Cleveland Baseball Club is in first place in the AL Central, but knowing your normal demeanor, I doubt you are.
At least you referred to him as the Cleveland Baseball Club. It's baby steps with you. We got that part right anyway. All right. Earlier today, Major League Baseball announced its postseason schedule. The postseason with the wild card round now begins on October 7th. And the World Series will begin on October 28th. So get ready for some snowball because you're going to get it in some of these towns possibly. Look, Minneapolis, Cleveland, Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, all candidates to get snowflakes in November. And that's when they're going to be playing the majority of the World Series this year. I mean, the first couple of games, the 28th and the 29th, and I suppose they'll take a day off the 31st. So the first 3 games will be in October, and then everything after that, baby, is going to be in November. Now, if you're a Twins fan, you may not have to worry about it the way they've been playing lately. Your guy Max Kepler, 0 for his last 29. The Twins going out to the left coast and losing 4 out of 5 to the Angels and to the Dodgers. They got to get their acts together soon, or they don't have to worry about the weather. They don't have to worry about any of this because they will be on the outside looking in. They need to put it together on this homestand. And in my mind, maybe you need to change at the top. Maybe you need to get rid of Rockhead at the end of the season. I don't think that he manages with his heart. I don't think he manages in situations very well. I think he opens up that laptop and says, oh yeah, 3rd time through the lineup, get my pitcher out of there. Oh yeah, he's thrown 80 pitches, get my guy out of there. There's way too much of that going on. Game situation type of managing is what they need. Paul Molitor was very good at that. Heck, Joe Maddon's out there. Go get him.
Wow. And the mood meter says you are a grumpy Guardian. You've thrown the gauntlet down.
It's down.
At the Minnesota Twins. Well, we'll see how it plays out.
We're down, baby.
They still have a chance, but they need to turn things around quickly.
Yes.
All right, well, my take of the day, I'll try to cheer up the viewers.
Good luck.
It's about Sylvia Fowles. I know the Minnesota Lynx did not have a weekend on the hardwood that they wanted as they lose games to Seattle and also to Connecticut. So no playoffs, first time since 2010 the Lynx are out of the postseason. But they did have the Sylvia send-off Friday in the game against the Storm. And how deserving. Sylvia Fowles is going to the Hall of Fame someday. That's a surefire thing. She will be in Springfield, Mass. She's a 2-time WNBA champion with the Lynx. 4-time gold medalist with Team USA in the Olympics. She's played 15 years in the WNBA, so she's been very durable. She's the all-time rebound leader, over 4,000 rebounds. Imagine that. 2017 MVP and a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. Sylvia, thanks for the highlights. Thanks for the memories. Thanks for being a classy athlete. There haven't been too many better to roll through Minnesota and achieve what she has.
Yeah, no question. I mean, you could point to some of the folks who have come through here, Lindsay Whalen being one, certainly Maya Moore collecting some championships, but the numbers that she put up, no doubt about it. Sylvia Fowles, as you said, headed to Springfield, Mass.
Sylvia's mother says she's on her way to Springfield.
She's on her way to Springfield.
As the old song we used to listen to. All right. On that note, we're going to FedEx out our thank yous. One to Alex Yambrick, one to the great crew here at MCN Channel 6, including Maggie, who is leaving for another gig. Good luck, Maggie. Also to Rocky and Stu Voigt. For Wally, this is Eric saying so long. This is 10K Takes, your sports ticket.